Thank you for staying with us. Human trafficking comes in many shapes and sizes, harming adults and children in countries rich and poor alike. In total, this menace, also known as modern slavery, affects an estimated 40.3 million people globally and earns traffickers at least $150 billion annually, making it one of the world's most profitable crimes. Human trafficking generally takes three main forms: forced labor, which includes sex trafficking, forced marriage, and forced organ removal. Well, women and girls make up the majority of all reported human trafficking cases, including 99% of victims of sex trafficking and 58% of victims in all other commercial industries. Well, human trafficking most immediately affects 40.3 million people globally, but its consequences are far more widespread. Let's talk more about this scourge. Princess Nwakego Ibrahim-Pam is founder and chairperson, Expat Professional and Business Women's Network International, South Korea. She joins us via Zoom for discussions on the scourge of human trafficking in the world. Thank you for joining us on TVC News at 1. This is a worrying trend that it seems to never abate despite efforts to contain the scourge. What really is making this grow with such astronomical speed across the world?
Thank you very much for inviting me, and I really appreciate that. Talking about human trafficking is a very delicate and complicated issue. It's based on a lot of factors such as cultural norms and poverty, and then the search for wealth. For me and my team usually say no to human trafficking, safeguard the traffic, shut down the routes, prosecute the perpetrators, and execute the law. We have laws that should prevent this human trafficking, but it is not well implemented. And since human trafficking is international and intercontinental, it is very difficult to connect the policies and ensure that perpetrators are prosecuted from the beginning of the journey and to their destination. So human trafficking is very rampant. People traffic people for different reasons. At the beginning, some years back, when you hear about human trafficking, you're thinking about prostitution, just exporting women, young girls from one country to the other or from one city to the other. But today, human trafficking has expanded to human organs. People are being trafficked for them to harvest their organs while they are alive. So how do we control that? How do we help these victims identify the perpetrators, not being deceived by the search for greener pasture, for work in countries other than their own countries.
Dr. Pam, tackling the issue is actually the focus here, because we keep talking about this problem and it seems to never end. There are new dimensions daily, weekly. There are groups springing up, speaking out against the scourge. But then we keep hearing the statistics that is quite horrifying. So let's talk about these solutions, your recommendations for rendering this menace that affects humanity in general.
For us to be able to combat this, we need to combat it from the top. You see, when we talk about human trafficking, we think we're talking about people who are jobless. There are multi-millionaires that are involved in human trafficking. There's a global cult involved in human trafficking. Until we're able to identify these rich, super rich people who benefit from human trafficking, sexual prostitution, then it will be quite difficult because they have the means, they have the connections, they are in position of high places. So the only way we can combat it is by publicly shaming them, prosecuting them, bringing them to book. So as long as they live in the shadow of their wealth and they're being protected by government officials that are also using the services that it provides for them, it will be a very long journey for us to do. Like I said,
Dr. Pam, I'm
Go ahead.
concerned about, the fact you've mentioned, like there are big names, wealthy individuals involved in this, and it's across the globe. So how do we get to get those people? Because, each country is sovereign. So what kinds of synergy needs to exist between countries, among countries of the world, so they can together fight this challenge?
Thank God that we have a global policy concerning human trafficking. So if a perpetrator is identified, say, in Nigeria, and he's being reported to the Interpol, or intelligence is being shared by other security agencies of the country that these trafficked people are being taken to, then the coordination will bring about the kind of result we're looking at. But the problem is that the dots are not connected, because the dots are not connected internationally. Once they succeed in leaving one country to the other, they are lost in the crowd. The other intelligence agency in the country of their arrival do not know that they are there. So the international intelligence community needs to connect the dots, needs to share information. They need to execute the laws, and for me, they need to also make sure that the routes are shut down. There are countries that are transit countries where these traffickers take these trafficked people to spend a few weeks with them and then move them from those transit countries to their destinations. So we need to find the routes. Where are the major routes that people are being trafficked? Who are these people trafficking them? How do we stop them? And then once we're able to connect the dots and we have international intelligence sharing, then most of these people who do this trafficking can be brought to book. But if we don't do that, then it will be difficult that each country will have to execute their laws as they see fit. And unfortunately, in the developing country, we don't have the manpower, we don't have the machinery to the point where we can execute this thing to a very high level that can be a deterrent to the perpetrators. The NGOs and the agencies that are doing this, I think they do more of after the effect services to the victims rather than preventing the occurrence of human trafficking.
All right, you have spoken really extensively on this, and it's my desire that the next time we have a conversation on this, there would have been really noticeable changes positively with regards to human trafficking. Princess Nwakego Ibrahim-Pam, founder and the chairperson, Expat professional and Business Women's Network International, South Korea. Thanks so much for joining us on TVC News at 1.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much for inviting me. And do keep safe and have a lovely day.
Thank you, you too.